Throughout history, great civilizations have risen, only to eventually decline. But what if their downfall isn't just due to tyranny or collapse, but something more absurd? Idiocy. From Plato to Nietzsche, Freud to Jung, many thinkers have warned of a recurring pattern where the dream of progress slowly dissolves into chaos and delusion. In this video, I will explore why nearly every advanced society seems to decay into an age of distraction, anti-intellectualism, and cultural folly, what some satirists now call an idiocracy. Drawing from philosophy, psychology, history, and pop culture, we'll examine Plato's skepticism of democracy, Huxley's vision of a pleasure-drenched future, Postman's critique of media, and historical examples from ancient Rome and Greece to the modern world. So let's begin and ask ourselves, what pattern are we following today? Let's begin where much of Western political philosophy begins, with Plato's Republic. In it, Plato outlines a cycle of political regimes. Aristocracy gives way to timocracy, which devolves into oligarchy, then democracy, and ultimately, tyranny. He famously observed that societies tend to reflect the character of their citizens. To Plato, democracy initially offers freedom and equality, but when freedom goes unchecked, it can spiral into chaos. The very traits that make democracy attractive, liberty, diversity, openness, can also open the floodgates to excess and ignorance. He described democracy as a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder. Everyone does as they please, and the distinction between truth and opinion begins to dissolve. Eventually, in that confusion, the crowd may yearn for order, and a tyrant rises on the wave of their unchecked passions. Plato warned that when an uneducated or self-serving majority governs, reason is easily silenced. He saw it happen in Athens, a city that once birthed Socrates, but later condemned him to death. For Plato, this was more than a political failure. It was a sign that critical thinking had fallen victim to mob rule. This ancient warning echoes through later thinkers. In the 19th century, Friedrich Nietzsche also distrusted the mass mentality of modern society. He predicted the rise of what he called the last man, a symbol of mediocrity and spiritual emptiness. According to Nietzsche, Western civilization was drifting toward a culture obsessed with comfort, predictability, and passive entertainment, seeking to avoid anything that might cause pain, risk, or uncertainty. The last man doesn't strive for greatness. He avoids it. He lives for ease, repetition, and shallow pleasures. And in Nietzsche's view, a society that worships comfort above all else is already laying the foundation for its own idiocy. In many ways, today's consumer and media culture, with its constant novelty, convenience, and instant gratification, mirrors Nietzsche's bleak vision. His last man is no longer a prophecy. He may already be here. Carl Jung, writing in the 20th century, added yet another layer to this theme. He examined how large groups and institutions affect the human psyche. Jung observed that the bigger the organization, the more unavoidable is its immorality and blind stupidity. He meant that as systems grow, they often crush individual moral insight and replace it with conformity, bureaucracy, and thoughtless ritual. In this way, mass society can drift toward collective folly, with no one person able to stop the wreck. And these themes haven't only appeared in philosophy, they've been explored in literature as well. In the next section, I'll discuss one novel in particular that offers a chillingly accurate vision of our own times. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World imagined a dystopian future not ruled by fear, but by pleasure. In this world, people are pacified by entertainment, distracted by shallow amusements, and numbed by drugs. Decades later, media theorist Neil Postman expanded on Huxley's vision in Amusing Ourselves to Death, warning that it wasn't Orwell's boot-on-the-neck repression we should fear. It was Huxley's prediction, a society so intoxicated by entertainment that it stops thinking altogether. As Postman famously wrote, What Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. The truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Postman believed that the technologies of entertainment, TV in his time, social media in ours, erode our ability to think deeply. He quoted Huxley, "People will come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. And once that happens, people stop resisting. They stop questioning. They become passive and worse, content." Postman's main concern was media. He warned that a culture shaped by screens rather than by the printed word loses depth. When television, and now algorithms, determine how we receive information, reason gives way to performance. All of reality becomes a show, he said. Politics turns into theater. News becomes entertainment. Journalists become celebrities. In a world ruled by images and sound bites, argument is replaced by optics. We no longer analyze. We react. His colleague Lance Straight called this shift positively toxic. Under the logic of modern media, Postman argued, politics is no longer about substance. It's about how things look. Journalist Sean Illing summed it up well. Postman believed we have descended into a vast triviality. Our ideas are now shaped by whatever is flashy, clickable, or viral. Think about reality TV, memes, TikTok, platforms designed for speed and amusement, not reflection or complexity. The 2006 film Idiocracy, a satire by Mike Judge, took this critique to absurd and disturbingly familiar heights. In the film, advertising replaces language. If you don't smoke Tarleytons, f*** you. An energy drink is used to irrigate crops, which of course die, and news is reduced to a single channel of nonsense. It's hilarious, until you realize how close it cuts to reality. One article put it bluntly, "We must take science, research, and knowledge seriously, lest we build our own idiocracy." Neuroscience now confirms what Postman feared. Studies show that excessive screen time, especially from smartphones and social media, is linked to reduced working memory and shorter attention spans. Reading long, complex ideas is getting harder. One study found that people recall less information from digital texts than from printed ones. Researcher Naomi Barron describes digital reading as superficial engagement. We skim, click, scroll, rarely stopping to think. We consume more, but understand less. And it gets worse. Social algorithms reward the most extreme, emotional content, not what's accurate or insightful. In return, we become an attention deficit public, chasing stimulation instead of meaning. This isn't just cultural decay, it's cognitive decay. And yes, it's stupidity at scale. But what's driving this on a psychological level? What in our minds makes us so vulnerable to this descent into distraction and denial? That's what I'll explore next. Why do advanced societies seem to grow dumber over time? At the psychological level, our brains are wired for comfort, not truth. Cognitive biases routinely override logic. Neuroscientist Steven Novella points to motivated reasoning, our instinct to believe what we want to be true. Add to this the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the least informed often feel the most confident, and the results are dire. Ignorance is no longer a gap to be filled, but a belief to be defended. This isn't just personal failure, it's cultural. As Isaac Asimov warned in 1980, there's a rising cult of ignorance in which all opinions, regardless of merit, are treated as equally valid. In this distorted view of democracy, expertise is suspect and emotional certainty trumps evidence. Facts associated with institutions or elites are often rejected outright, seen as threats to group identity or moral purity. Conspiracies offer comfort. Truth feels cold. Social media feeds this fire. Algorithms reward anger, outrage, and tribalism, not nuance. Misinformation thrives in echo chambers, where being loud matters more than being right. As test scores and literacy rates decline, we are not simply uninformed. We're becoming unteachable. Modern culture only accelerates the trend. Attention is fragmented, critical thinking is dulled, and performance replaces substance. We elect personalities, not policies, consume headlines, not history. Education is sidelined. Entertainment dominates. Studies show younger generations read less and struggle more with complex reasoning. Populists take advantage, attacking experts and offering simple answers to complex problems. The result? A democratic system that prizes slogans over solutions. So, what we're witnessing isn't just ignorance, it's systemic. A culture, economy, and media ecosystem that rewards shallowness is leading us into a feedback loop of stupidity. And unless we deliberately push back, we risk becoming a society that forgets not just how to think, but why thinking matters at all. But this descent into shallowness isn't just a modern phenomenon. It echoes through the ages. And looking into history is not just educational. It's essential. It helps us recognize which patterns our own society may be repeating, often without even realizing it. This is what I'm going to explore now. Take Rome. Once the pinnacle of civilization, it didn't collapse overnight. Scholars now argue it wasn't just external threats, like barbarian invasions, that toppled the empire. It was self-inflicted blindness. Roman leaders repeatedly ignored looming crises. They underestimated enemies, failed to integrate migrants, and placed trust in unreliable mercenary armies. The real enemy wasn't at the gates. It was the hubris inside the walls. Willful ignorance, not just misfortune, brought Rome down. Athens offers a similar lesson. After executing Socrates, a man who urged self-examination and reason, Plato concluded that democracy, without wisdom, can become self-destructive. The people, swayed by demagogues and emotion, silenced the voice that challenged them. Democracy, as he saw it, could eat itself when it becomes allergic to truth. The British Empire's decline, too, holds warnings. After 2 world wars, its global reach shrank under the weight of economic strain and outdated worldviews. Some historians argue it wasn't just loss of resources, it was the empire's own civilizational arrogance. Leaders clung to prestige, dismissing nationalist movements and overestimating their grip on the world. In The March of Folly, historian Barbara Tushman chronicled how governments often pursue policies contrary to their own interests, blinded by pride or ideology. From Renaissance popes provoking Protestant revolt to American leaders escalating the Vietnam War, her examples show folly isn't rare, it's routine. Often, it's not that leaders don't know better, it's that they refuse to change. These historical collapses remind us, civilizations don't only fall to conquest or catastrophe, they collapse when pride replaces humility. Comfort replaces inquiry, and ideology replaces adaptation. As Postman, Plato, and Tuchman each suggest in their own ways, decay begins when a society stops asking questions and starts clinging to illusions. Writers like Huxley, Postman, and Tuchman don't just diagnose decay, they illuminate ways out. Their work invites us to resist the drift toward shallowness, to take knowledge, science, and reason seriously before it's too late. As Idiocracy satirically warned, the real danger isn't that we're ruled by tyrants, it's that we'll laugh our way into ignorance, welcoming distraction over truth. As Postman paraphrased Huxley, Orwell feared those who would ban books. Huxley feared there would be no one who wanted to read them.